The holographic display flickered in the Grand Chamber as Supreme Commander Vorash reviewed the intelligence reports one final time. Earth sat there in the data streams like a ripe fruit waiting to be plucked. Every calculation, every simulation, every analysis pointed to the same conclusion. The humans were fragmented, weak, and hopelessly divided. Their world governments spent more time arguing with each other than preparing any real defenses. Perfect targets. "Begin the broadcast," Vorash commanded. Across 300 warships, the message went out simultaneously. The Carvel Dominion had spoken. Earth would surrender within 48 hours or face total annihilation. It was not a negotiation. It was a statement of fact. On Earth, the message arrived during a particularly heated United Nations session about fishing rights in the North Atlantic. The Brazilian ambassador was mid-sentence when every screen in the building suddenly displayed the same alien face. Vorash's three eyes stared out from the displays, his mandibles clicking as he delivered his ultimatum in perfect English. For exactly 7 seconds, the entire chamber fell silent. Then someone laughed. "Is this a joke?" the German representative asked, looking around the room. "Which country paid for this?" "It's probably marketing for that new science fiction movie," someone else suggested. The Russian ambassador checked his phone. "It's on every channel, every website." Someone spent a lot of money on this prank. Within an hour, the internet exploded. The alien invasion declaration became the top trending topic worldwide. Conspiracy theorists insisted it was government propaganda. Movie studios denied involvement. Social media users created memes faster than anyone could count them. One particularly popular image showed Vorash's face with the caption, "Me waiting for my pizza delivery." Admiral Nethas commanded the Dominion fleet from his flagship. He watched the human response with growing confusion. Where was the panic? Where were the emergency broadcasts? Where were the desperate pleas for mercy? "Sir, we're receiving multiple transmissions from Earth," his communications officer reported. "Should I route them to your station?" "Yes." "Let me hear their surrender." The first transmission was from someone calling themselves Supreme Emperor of the Internet, offering to trade cat videos for peace. The second was from a radio station asking if the aliens wanted to participate in a morning talk show. The third was from a government agency asking them to fill out Form 27B for unscheduled atmospheric entry by foreign vessels. Nethas stared at the forms. "They want us to file paperwork. It appears so, sir. There are 17 pages. This is absurd." "They should be terrified. Perhaps they don't believe we're real, sir." Vorash's orders came through immediately. "Demonstrate strength. Show the humans that the Dominion was not to be ignored." Nethas selected a target carefully. An isolated military installation in a desert region. Minimal casualties, maximum impact. The humans would see what Dominion weapons could do. The plasma cannons fired. Energy beams lanced down from orbit, striking the facility with pinpoint accuracy. Buildings vaporized. The ground turned to glass. It was a perfect demonstration of power. Nethas waited for the human response. Surely now they would understand. The first communication came from the United States military. Thanks for that. We were scheduled to demolish that base next month. You just saved the taxpayers about $40 million. What?" Nethas could barely process the words. "Yeah, it was decommissioned in 2019. Been trying to get budget approval for cleanup. Appreciate the help." A second message arrived from a different source. "This is the Nevada Department of Environmental Protection. Do you have permits for that energy discharge? We'll need to assess the environmental impact." Nethas looked at his tactical officer. "Are they serious?" "I believe so, sir. They're asking us to submit an environmental impact statement. We just destroyed one of their military bases. A decommissioned one, apparently." Vorash was not pleased with the report. "You showed them our power and they thanked you." "Yes, Supreme Commander, and they asked for paperwork. Then we escalate, deploy ground forces to their major population centers. When they see our soldiers in their streets, they will surrender." The 1st Dominion Battalion landed in New York City during rush hour. Thousands of warriors in advanced combat armor emerged from their drop ships, weapons ready, prepared for resistance and chaos. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by people with phones. "Dude, are you guys part of Comic-Con?" someone asked. The convention center is 10 blocks that way, a helpful pedestrian pointed. A tourist asked if they could take a selfie. A street vendor tried to sell them hot dogs. A police officer asked if they had a permit for the large gathering. Battalion Commander Hirk tried to maintain order. We are the Carvel Dominion. You will submit to our authority. Yeah, a taxi driver yelled. Keep it on the sidewalk, buddy. Some of us got places to be. Are you filming a movie? Someone else asked. Where are the cameras? Hirk fired his weapon into the air. The energy blast scorched the side of a building. Finally, people started running, but not in terror. They were running toward him, phones out, recording everything. Did you see that? Post it. Post it. This marketing is insane. Within minutes, videos of Dominion soldiers were flooding social media. Most comments debated which movie studio was behind it. Special effects teams were praised for the realistic alien costumes. One video got 15 million views in the first hour with the title Best Viral Marketing Ever. Hirk reported back to Nethas. Sir, they think we're entertainment. What? They believe this is some form of performance art or commercial advertising. Multiple humans have asked us for autographs. Nethas forwarded the report to Vorash. The Supreme Commander's response was immediate and furious. Bring me a human leader, now. We will make them understand. But which human leader? The Dominion had prepared for a unified planetary government. Instead, they found hundreds of nations, thousands of organizations, and millions of people all claiming different forms of authority. The United Nations said they needed to schedule a Security Council meeting. The United States said it was a matter for homeland security. The European Union created a committee to study the situation. China requested a formal diplomatic proposal. Russia asked if they were interested in buying military equipment. Nobody seemed to be in charge. Nobody seemed to care that an alien armada sat in orbit around their planet. Nethas reviewed the intelligence reports again. Something was very wrong with their analysis. The humans weren't primitive. They had nuclear weapons, advanced computers, space stations, satellites. The technology was there, but somehow they couldn't organize a proper response to an invasion. Or maybe they just didn't think it was important enough. That thought disturbed him more than any weapon could. 3 days into the invasion, Nethas realized he was fighting a war against bureaucracy itself. Every demand for surrender went through a different department. Every threat was forwarded to another agency. Every attempt at communication resulted in hold music, actual hold music. The Dominion's most advanced warships, capable of destroying planets, were being put on hold by telephone systems. You have reached the United Nations Security Council hotline. Your call is important to us. Current wait time is approximately 4 hours. Please continue to hold. His communications officer looked exhausted. Sir, we've been transferred 17 times. Nobody will give us a direct answer. What about their military commanders? They say it's a civilian matter and referred us to their State Department. And the State Department? They say it's a military matter and referred us back to the Pentagon. Nethas had conquered 14 worlds. None of them had telephone trees. On Earth, the situation was becoming a genuine headache for various officials. Not because they were scared, because nobody could figure out whose problem this was. Look, I'm just saying, aliens are technically foreign entities, so State Department should handle it, argued one official at an interagency meeting. Foreign means from another country, not another planet, countered someone from Homeland Security. This is clearly a security issue. Actually, since they're in space, shouldn't this be NASA's jurisdiction? Offered a third voice. NASA is a civilian agency. They don't handle military threats. Are they a military threat, though? They haven't actually hurt anyone. Just blew up an old base we wanted gone anyway. The meeting continued for 3 hours without resolution. Meanwhile, Dominion ground forces were having their own problems. The battalion in New York had been issued parking tickets, 47 parking tickets. The city's traffic enforcement was apparently immune to fear. You can't park a drop ship in a loading zone, the parking enforcement officer explained, writing another ticket. I don't care if you're from Mars. Rules are rules. Hirk watched in disbelief as a human in a uniform attached a bright orange violation notice to his assault craft. This is a military vehicle engaged in planetary invasion. Then you definitely need a military vehicle permit. That's a different form. City Hall, 3rd floor, window 12. They close at 4:30. In London, another Dominion unit had been stopped by health inspectors. Their biological weapons were flagged as potential health code violations. They needed proper storage permits and refrigeration documentation. In Tokyo, soldiers were asked to remove their boots before entering buildings. Many complied out of sheer confusion. In Mumbai, a Dominion warrior got into an argument with a street vendor over the price of chai. He lost the argument. Nethas read the reports with growing frustration. His invasion force was being processed, regulated, and bureaucratically neutralized. But Vorash kept demanding results. The Supreme Commander refused to believe that humans were defeating them with paperwork. "Destroy something important," Vorash ordered. "Make them fear us." Nethas selected a target more carefully this time, a major power plant. Surely destroying their electricity would get a response. The plasma bombardment was perfect. The facility erupted in flames. Power went out across an entire region. This would show the humans that the Dominion was serious. Within 2 hours, the power was back on. Backup systems and grid redundancy had kicked in automatically. The Dominion intercepted human communications about the incident. "Yeah, Grid Sector 7 went down. Probably need to file an insurance claim." "Was it the aliens?" "Yeah, apparently. Can you believe our insurance actually covers alien attack?" "I thought that was just a joke clause. How long until it's fixed?" "Crew's already on it. Should be done by tomorrow." "Union says it's overtime rates, though." "Of course it is." Nethas wanted to scream. The humans were treating orbital bombardment as a maintenance issue, but something else bothered him. He started actually reading the intelligence reports, not the old ones that said humans were primitive. The new ones, the current observations. Earth had 8 billion people. The Dominion's entire military numbered 200 million. Earth had thousands of satellites in orbit. The Dominion had assumed they were primitive communications equipment. Now he saw they were surveillance systems, weapons platforms, and launch vehicles. Earth's economy produced more in a single year than the entire Dominion had in a decade. Their industrial capacity was staggering, and their weapons. The intelligence had focused on their political divisions and missed their arsenals. Every major nation had nuclear weapons. Some had thousands. One country had enough explosives to destroy all life on Earth several times over. "Why haven't they used them?" Nethas asked his intelligence officer. "Sir, the humans have weapons that could destroy our fleet. Why haven't they fired?" The intelligence officer checked the data. According to intercepted communications, they're still arguing about authorization protocols. Also, there's concern about the environmental impact of debris from destroyed ships entering their atmosphere. "They're worried about littering?" "It appears so." "Sir, what about their military response? Why haven't their armed forces engaged us?" "Multiple reasons, sir. The Americans are waiting for congressional approval. The Europeans are forming a committee. The Chinese are observing. The Russians made us an offer to buy our weapons technology. Several smaller nations have filed formal diplomatic protests but took no military action." Nethas stared at the data. "So they could destroy us, but they're choosing not to because they can't agree on how to do it." "Essentially, yes, sir. For the first time since entering Earth's solar system." Nethas felt genuine fear. Not of human weapons, of human chaos. They were so disorganized, so fragmented, so busy arguing with each other that they hadn't noticed they were being invaded. Which meant when they did notice, when they finally stopped arguing and started acting, the response would be overwhelming. "Get me Supreme Commander Vorash," Nethas said quietly. "I need to recommend immediate withdrawal." "Sir, we didn't invade a primitive world. We invaded a sleeping giant, and I think it's starting to wake up." Back on Earth, the arguments continued. But something was changing. Military officers were quietly coordinating. Defense contractors were activating emergency protocols. Satellite networks were realigning. Scientists were analyzing Dominion technology from the destroyed base. Nobody had given an order yet. Nobody was officially in charge. But humanity was doing what it did best: adapting, preparing. Getting ready, the bureaucratic nightmare was ending. The real nightmare was about to begin. The mining laser wasn't supposed to be a weapon. It was designed to cut asteroids into manageable pieces for processing. 17,000 tons of industrial equipment floating near Mars, usually operated by a crew of 8 people who spent most of their time watching automated systems do the work. When 3 Dominion cruisers parked themselves in the laser's operational zone, the facility supervisor did what any reasonable person would do. She filed a complaint with Orbital Traffic Control. When the complaint was ignored, she did what any annoyed shift supervisor would do. She cleared the obstruction. The beam sliced through the first cruiser's hull like butter. The ship split in half, both pieces tumbling away in different directions. The second cruiser tried to move, but the targeting computer tracked it automatically. Another perfect cut. The third cruiser managed to fire its engines, but only succeeded in making the cut diagonal instead of horizontal. "Huh," said the supervisor, watching the debris scatter. "Guess their shields don't work against industrial equipment." She filed an incident report and went back to processing asteroids. Nethas watched 3 of his cruisers get destroyed by mining equipment and finally understood the true scope of their mistake. The humans hadn't built weapons to fight them. They hadn't needed to. They had enough industrial infrastructure to accidentally destroy warships. He composed his report to Vorash carefully. The Supreme Commander needed to understand that Earth wasn't helpless. They were distracted. There was a difference. Vorash's response came back within the hour. "Unacceptable, deploy the full fleet, establish orbital superiority. I want every human military installation identified and targeted." Nethas followed his orders. The Dominion fleet spread out across Earth's orbit, weapons systems active, scanning for military targets. They found hundreds, thousands. Every nation had bases, installations, weapon sites, radar stations. The sheer number was overwhelming. "Begin the attack," Vorash commanded through the communication link. Plasma weapons fired. Kinetic rounds launched. Energy beams lanced down from orbit. The Dominion fleet struck at military targets across the entire planet simultaneously, and that's when Earth finally noticed. Missile silos across 5 continents opened. Not nuclear ones, not yet. Conventional missiles streaked into the sky by the hundreds. Surface-to-orbit weapons that Earth had been testing for decades suddenly had real targets. Dominion point defense systems engaged automatically. They shot down the first wave, and the second. And the third, but the missiles kept coming. There were too many. "Sir, we're detecting multiple launch signatures from North America, and from Asia. Europe is firing, sir. Even the civilian space stations are launching something." Nethas watched his tactical display fill with red markers. Every few seconds, another Dominion ship reported damage. Hull breaches, system failures, engine damage. Return fire. Destroy their launch sites? But the launch sites were scattered across the entire planet. Mobile launchers kept moving. Underground facilities were hardened against orbital strikes. And the humans had something the Dominion hadn't accounted for. They had been preparing for nuclear war with each other for decades. Their defense systems were designed to survive precisely this kind of attack. One of Nethas's destroyers exploded. A missile had penetrated its armor and detonated inside the reactor core. "Pull back to high orbit," Nethas ordered. "Get out of range of their surface weapons." The fleet began retreating, but as they climbed higher, new threats appeared. Satellites that the Dominion had dismissed as communications equipment suddenly activated. They weren't communications satellites. They were weapons platforms, lasers, rail guns, particle beams. Equipment that had been floating dormant in orbit for years, waiting for a purpose. "They weaponized their satellite network," the tactical officer reported in shock. "How long has this been there? According to our scans, some of this equipment is decades old. They built it during their Cold War and just left it up here." Nethas felt sick. Earth had weapons in orbit before the Dominion even knew they existed. They had been ready for war in space longer than most species in the galaxy had been capable of space flight. Down on Earth, the chaos was ending. Militaries were coordinating. Political arguments were being shelved. Every nation had suddenly discovered the value of cooperation. In an emergency meeting at the United Nations, representatives from every major power were working together for the first time in decades. "We need unified command structure," the American general stated. "Agreed," replied the Chinese military liaison. European defense networks are online and ready to coordinate, added the EU representative. Russia stands ready to commit forces, confirmed the Russian ambassador. It had taken the Dominion invasion to accomplish what decades of diplomacy had failed to achieve. Humanity was uniting. General Hannah Brooks found herself in command of the Unified Defense Force. Not because she was the most senior officer, not because of politics, simply because she had been running military exercises on multinational cooperation and happened to be the one person everyone could agree on. She stood in the hastily assembled command center and looked at the tactical display. 300 enemy ships, 8 billion angry humans. The math favored her side. "Get me a communication channel to that fleet," she ordered. "All frequencies." When the link opened, she kept her message simple. "Dominion forces, this is General Hannah Brooks of Earth Defense Command. You have 24 hours to withdraw beyond Jupiter's orbit. Any ship remaining in Earth's sphere of influence after that deadline will be considered hostile and destroyed. This is your only warning." Nethas listened to the transmission. Earth Defense Command. They had unified, they had organized, they had become exactly what the Dominion intelligence had said was impossible. "Sir, what are our orders?" his tactical officer asked. Nethas looked at the damage reports. 17 ships destroyed, 43 damaged, and the humans had barely started fighting. They had used conventional weapons, surface-to-orbit missiles. Old satellites, they hadn't deployed their nuclear arsenal, hadn't used their newest technology, hadn't even fully mobilized their military. This was just Earth's opening move. "Prepare the fleet for withdrawal," Nethas said quietly. "Sir, Supreme Commander Voresh hasn't authorized retreat. I'm authorizing it. I won't sacrifice this entire fleet because Voresh refuses to admit we made a mistake. That's mutiny, sir. That's survival. Begin the withdrawal." The Dominion fleet started pulling back. But Nethas knew it wasn't over. Voresh wouldn't accept defeat. The Supreme Commander would send reinforcements, and next time Earth would be ready. War Master Terk had built his reputation on crushing resistance. 43 conquered worlds, 62 successful campaigns, 0 defeats. When Voresh summoned him to deal with the Earth problem, he accepted immediately. Failure wasn't in his vocabulary. "Nethas has gone soft," Terk announced to his assembled fleet commanders. "He let these primitives intimidate him with mining equipment and old missiles. We'll show them what real military power looks like." 500 warships followed Terk into Earth's solar system. Twice the size of the original invasion force. Brand new vessels with upgraded weapons and shields, the pride of the Dominion military. "No warnings this time," Terk ordered. "We hit them fast and hard. Destroy their satellite network first, then their surface defenses, then their cities. We'll have them begging for surrender before their governments can even coordinate a response." The Second Fleet entered Earth's orbit with weapons hot. Terk selected his targets carefully. Every satellite, every weapons platform, every piece of orbital infrastructure, they would all burn. "Fire!" The Dominion fleet unleashed everything. Plasma cannons, missile pods, energy weapons. The sky above Earth lit up with explosions as satellites disintegrated. Then the satellites fired back. "Sir, the targets we destroyed are still showing active weapons fire." "That's impossible." "We just destroyed them." "They're decoys, sir. The real weapons platforms are cloaked." Terk watched in fury as his tactical display updated. For every satellite they destroyed, 3 more appeared. The humans had hidden their real defense network behind cheap decoys. Hundreds of missiles launched from Earth's surface. But these weren't the conventional weapons that had damaged Nethas's fleet. These were new, faster, smarter. Point defense systems engaging. The Dominion fleet's automated defenses shot down the first wave of missiles. Then the missiles did something unexpected. They adapted. Changed their approach vectors, modified their flight patterns. The second wave got through. Terk's flagship shuddered as 3 missiles impacted the forward shields. Shield strength at 70%, hull integrity maintained. "How did they learn our defense patterns so quickly?" His tactical officer looked pale. "Sir, analysis suggests the missiles have adaptive AI. They're learning from each engagement and sharing data with other missiles in real time." Impossible. That kind of distributed intelligence requires processing power beyond what primitive guidance systems should have. "Perhaps they're not primitive, sir. More missiles hit. More shields flickered. Terek's fleet began taking real damage. He had expected to overwhelm the humans with superior firepower. Instead, the humans were overwhelming him with superior numbers and technology that adapted faster than he could counter. All ships, break orbit and engage evasive patterns. We need to reassess, but breaking orbit meant entering the range of Earth's ground-based weapons. Massive rail guns that had been hidden in mountains and underground bunkers suddenly revealed themselves. They fired solid projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. No shields could stop kinetic energy traveling that fast. A Dominion cruiser took a direct hit. The railgun round punched through both sides of the ship, leaving a perfectly circular hole. Everything in the projectile's path simply ceased to exist. "Sir, we're detecting energy signatures from Earth's moon." "What?" "The humans have weapons installations on their moon." Multiple facilities powering up. Terek watched the lunar surface light up with launch signatures. More missiles, more rail guns, more weapons he hadn't known existed. The humans had turned their entire planetary system into a fortress. His communications officer interrupted. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Defense Command." "Ignore it. Sir, it's being broadcast on all frequencies, very loudly." "I don't think we can ignore it." General Brooks's voice filled every speaker on every Dominion ship. "Dominion's Second Fleet, this is your first and final warning. You have 1 hour to withdraw. We have shown you our conventional weapons. If you remain, we will deploy our strategic arsenal. Leave now or be destroyed." Terek laughed. "Strategic arsenal? What do they have that could possibly be worse than what they've already used?" His science officer answered quietly. "Nuclear weapons, sir. Our intelligence indicates they have approximately 13,000 nuclear warheads, some with yields in the megaton range." The laughter died. 13,000? "Yes, sir. They built them to fight each other. They can easily repurpose them for orbital targets. They wouldn't dare use nuclear weapons in their own orbit. The fallout, the debris field, the radiation. Sir, these are humans. They've used nuclear weapons on themselves before, twice, in actual warfare." Terek stared at his officer. "They nuked their own planet in 1945, sir, and they've detonated over 2,000 nuclear devices in testing. They're not afraid of radiation." Another missile barrage hit the fleet. 5 more ships reported critical damage. Terek was losing vessels faster than Nethas had, and the humans hadn't even used their strongest weapons yet. "Sir, new contacts." Multiple ships launching from Earth's surface. "More missiles?" "No, sir, ships. Civilian spacecraft being retrofitted with weapons. We're reading hundreds of them. Cargo haulers, passenger transports, even private vessels. They're mounting rail guns and missile pods on anything that can fly." Terek watched his tactical display fill with new threats. The humans were turning their entire civilian fleet into military assets. Every ship, every station, every piece of orbital infrastructure was becoming a weapon. "How many ships can they field?" "Thousands, sir. They have a massive commercial space industry. If they weaponize even a fraction of it, they'll outnumber us 10 to 1. This is madness. This is humanity, sir." Terek made his decision. Pride wasn't worth dying for. "Signal the fleet. Full retreat, maximum speed. Sir, Supreme Commander Vorash will have you executed for cowardice." "Then I'll die later instead of now. Move." The Dominion's Second Fleet turned and ran. Behind them, Earth's defenses tracked their retreat but held fire. General Brooks had made her point. In the command center, someone asked if they should pursue. Brooks shook her head. "Let them go. Let them tell everyone what happened here. The galaxy needs to know what happens when you attack Earth." The invasion was over. Humanity had won, and they had barely tried. The Dominion Council chamber had never been so quiet. Supreme Commander Vorash stood before the assembled leaders, trying to explain how 2 entire fleets had been defeated by a species that supposedly couldn't even organize a planetary government. "The humans were more advanced than our intelligence suggested," Vorash said carefully. "More advanced?" Council Leader Dreth's voice dripped with contempt. "They humiliated us. Nethas retreated without authorization. Terek fled like a coward, and you want us to believe this was because of faulty intelligence? Our analysis was based on their political divisions. We assumed fragmentation meant weakness. Clearly a fatal assumption," Vorash bristled. The Council approved this invasion. You saw the same reports I did. And now we need to salvage what remains of our reputation. The entire galaxy is watching, waiting to see if the mighty Dominion can be defeated by a single world. In the back of the chamber, Nethys sat silently. He had been stripped of his command and was awaiting court-martial for unauthorized retreat. But he had been right. He had tried to warn them. Terk sat beside him, also in disgrace. The legendary War Master, undefeated in 62 campaigns, had lost his first battle to a species that spent most of its time arguing with itself. "We can't leave it like this," another council member stated. "We must respond with overwhelming force. Show the galaxy that the Dominion doesn't accept defeat." "We already sent overwhelming force," Nethys said quietly. "Twice." "You were ordered to remain silent," Dreth snapped. "With respect, remaining silent is what got us into this situation. We need to accept that we made a mistake and seek peace terms." "Peace?" Vorash laughed bitterly. "We declared total war. We bombarded their planet. We invaded their cities. You think they'll simply forgive that? I think they'll be reasonable if we're reasonable. They destroyed 47 of our ships, damaged over 100 more, killed thousands of our soldiers, and you think they're reasonable?" Nethys stood up. "They could have killed us all. They had nuclear weapons. Kinetic bombardment capability, enough firepower to sterilize our entire fleet, but they gave us warnings, chances to retreat. They showed restraint. That's not restraint. That's weakness. No, Supreme Commander, that's civilization. They don't want war, they just want us to leave them alone." The council erupted in argument. Some demanded another attack. Others called for negotiation. A few suggested ignoring Earth entirely and pretending the invasion never happened. While the Dominion Council argued, Earth was moving forward. General Brooks had consolidated the Unified Defense Force into a permanent organization. Nations that had spent decades barely tolerating each other were now sharing technology, coordinating military exercises, and building joint defensive installations. The space industry had exploded. Every nation with launch capability was putting new satellites into orbit, weapons platforms, communication arrays, surveillance systems, mining operations expanded. Manufacturing facilities multiplied. Humanity was building infrastructure at a pace that terrified anyone paying attention. "We've gone from arguing about climate treaties to building a unified planetary defense network in less than a month," one diplomat observed. "It's remarkable. Nothing unites people like a common enemy," General Brooks replied. "What if they come back? Then we'll be ready." Actually ready this time, not accidentally ready. She wasn't wrong. Earth's military had spent the weeks since the battle analyzing every piece of Dominion technology they could recover. Every destroyed ship, every damaged system, every weapon fragment. Human scientists and engineers were reverse engineering alien technology with frightening speed. "The Dominion plasma weapons are actually less efficient than our current laser systems," one research team reported. "But their power generation is more compact. If we combine their generators with our weapons, we could triple our output. Their hull armor is interesting, different composition than what we use, not necessarily better, just different. But we can learn from it. Their FTL drives are where things get exciting. They can cross interstellar distances that would take us decades. If we figure out how this works, everything changes." Humanity wasn't just defending against the Dominion. They were learning from them, adapting their technology, improving on it. 6 weeks after Terk's retreat, a single Dominion ship approached Earth. Not a warship, a diplomatic vessel. It transmitted a simple message requesting permission to enter orbit and discuss terms. General Brooks consulted with the Unified Command. "It could be a trick. We'll have weapons on them the entire time. If they try anything, we can vaporize them in seconds." "All right. Grant them permission, but they land at our designated location with no weapons." The Dominion ship landed in Geneva. Nethys emerged, alone and unarmed. He had volunteered for this mission, knowing it might cost him his life. The Council had agreed mainly because nobody else wanted the job. He stood before General Brooks and the assembled Earth representatives in a conference room that had hosted countless negotiations over humanity's history. "I am Admiral Nethys of the Carvel Dominion. I am here to discuss terms of peace." Brooks gestured to a chair. "Sit." "Let's talk," The Dominion Council is willing to offer reparations for damages caused during our invasion. That's a start. What else? We will withdraw all forces from your solar system permanently. We will mark Earth as a protected zone in our territorial maps. No Dominion ship will approach without explicit permission. And, Nethas hesitated, and we request that you not tell the rest of the galaxy what happened here. Brooks almost laughed. You want us to keep quiet about defending ourselves. You don't understand the political implications. If the galaxy learns that the Dominion was defeated by a single species, our entire authority structure collapses. Border conflicts will erupt. Our enemies will strike. The stability we've maintained for centuries will shatter. That sounds like a Dominion problem, not an Earth problem. It will become an Earth problem when dozens of species decide to test themselves against the world that defeated us. You'll face invasion after invasion, each one trying to prove they're stronger than the Dominion. Brooks leaned back. So you want us to pretend this never happened so the galaxy doesn't know we can defend ourselves? That's quite a request. I'm asking you to consider the consequences, not just for us. For yourselves. The room fell silent. Nethas had a point and everyone knew it. We'll discuss it, Brooks finally said. But we're not making any promises. The treaty negotiations took 3 weeks. Earth representatives debated every clause, every term, every implication. Some nations wanted complete transparency. Others saw the strategic value in secrecy. Eventually, they reached a compromise that satisfied nobody perfectly, which meant it was probably fair. The Dominion would pay reparations. They would share star charts and information about other galactic species. They would establish a formal embassy on Earth. And in exchange, Earth would agree to a limited information release about the conflict. Official story. The Dominion had approached Earth for diplomatic relations. There were some misunderstandings, but peaceful contact had been established. Nethas signed the treaty on behalf of the Dominion. General Brooks signed for Earth. The war that had barely been noticed was officially over. 3 months later, the real consequences began. A small trading vessel from the Pellan Confederation arrived at Earth's orbital station. The Pellans were a peaceful species, herbivorous and cautious, who had spent centuries avoiding conflict through careful diplomacy and strategic neutrality. Their ambassador was terrified. "We need your help," she said, her translator converting her whistling language into English. "The Kreth Confederacy has issued an ultimatum. We must surrender our colony worlds or face invasion." "Why come to us?" Brooks asked. "Because the Kreth fear the Dominion, and we've heard rumors that you defeated the Dominion. If even a fraction of those rumors are true, you might be able to help us." Brooks exchanged glances with the other Earth representatives. So much for keeping things quiet. "What kind of help are you looking for?" "Military advisors, defensive technology, anything you can provide. We're not warriors, we don't know how to fight." "But the Kreth won't leave us alone." Earth's leadership debated for 2 days. Eventually, they agreed to send a small advisory team. Non-combat role, defensive assistance only. Help the Pellans protect themselves. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Foster led the team. 50 military advisors, all volunteers, all knowing they were stepping into a potentially dangerous situation. The Pellan colony world was beautiful. Green fields, crystal oceans, cities built in harmony with nature. It was also completely undefended. "You don't have any military installations?" Foster asked in disbelief. "We have police for civil disputes." "We've never needed more. What about orbital defenses? We have traffic control satellites to prevent ship collisions." Foster looked at her team. They had their work cut out for them. Within a week, the Kreth arrived. 5 warships, not particularly large or advanced, but more than enough to threaten an undefended world. Their commander broadcast the standard demand for surrender. Foster established communication. "This is Earth Defense Advisory Team. The Pellan Confederation is under our protection. Withdraw immediately." The Kreth commander laughed. "Earth? Never heard of it. This is our territory, human. Leave or be destroyed." "Last warning, withdraw." "You have 1 ship, we have 5. Your math is poor." Foster smiled. "You're right. We only have 1 ship, but we don't need more." She activated the defensive system her team had spent the week installing. Pellan traffic control satellites suddenly had a different purpose. The communication arrays could focus energy into tight beams. The collision prevention systems could track multiple targets simultaneously. The civilian infrastructure became a weapons network. The Kreth ships found themselves painted by targeting lasers. Every satellite in orbit was tracking them. "Fire one warning shot," Foster ordered. A beam of concentrated energy lanced out from orbit and vaporized a chunk of rock floating near the Kreth flagship. The message was clear. "That could have been you." The Kreth commander hesitated. "You're bluffing, those are civilian satellites." "We're civilian satellites. Now they're our point defense network. Your move." Two Kreth ships opened fire on the Pelin colony. Foster's team responded instantly. Every satellite focused on the attacking ships. Energy beams sliced through their hulls. Both vessels went dark within seconds. The remaining 3 Kreth ships turned and fled. Foster reported back to Earth. "Mission successful. Kreth withdrew. Pelins are safe. Any casualties on our side?" "None." "We didn't even leave orbit." The incident spread through the galaxy faster than light speed. Earth had defended an alien species against a superior force. Humans had taken civilian equipment and turned it into military assets. Again, other species started paying attention. Some sought Earth's help, others marked human space as dangerous. A few began preparing for eventual conflict with this unexpected new power. The Dominion Council watched the news with resignation. Vorash had been removed from command. Nethas was quietly reinstated, given a desk job in logistics, and told to keep his head down. Terk retired and wrote a book about military strategy. His main lesson: never underestimate an enemy's potential. On Earth, life returned to something resembling normal. Nations went back to arguing about trade policies and border disputes. The Unified Defense Force remained operational but became just another bureaucracy. Climate debates resumed. Economic competition continued, but something had changed. The satellites stayed armed. The military cooperation continued. The space industry kept expanding. Earth kept building, kept preparing, kept improving, because they had learned something important. The galaxy was bigger than they had imagined, more dangerous, more complex, and humanity was no longer isolated. General Brooks stood in the New Earth Defense Headquarters, looking at a star map that showed hundreds of alien civilizations. Thousands of worlds, millions of potential threats and allies. "We can't ignore the galaxy anymore," she told her staff. "We're part of it now whether we like it or not." "Are we ready?" She thought about how they had defeated the Dominion almost by accident. How they had protected the Pelins without breaking a sweat. How human adaptability and industrial capacity had overwhelmed opponents who thought they were superior. "We're never ready," Brooks said honestly, "but we're good at figuring things out as we go." That'll have to be enough. Somewhere in the Dominion space, Nethas filed his logistics reports and thought about Earth. About the species that had defeated them not through superior technology or advanced tactics, but through sheer stubborn refusal to be conquered. He had tried to warn Vorash. Had tried to explain that humanity's chaos was a strength, not a weakness, that their ability to unite when threatened made them more dangerous than any standing military. Nobody had listened. Now everyone knew. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Earth had barely noticed their invasion. But when they did notice, when they finally stopped arguing and started acting, nothing could stop them. And that terrified everyone who understood what it meant.